The largest stockpiles of tanks and armored vehicles in the world. The largest nuclear arsenal, more than approximately 5,000 warheads. The Soviet military legacy and potential, accumulated over decades of the Cold War and preparation for war with the USA and the entire West, was inherited by Russia. But despite the enormous Soviet stockpiles and the gradual introduction and adoption of modern technologies, the occupying army is experiencing problems. aces and camels in logistics, unparalleled wonder weapons cobbled together from whatever was at hand, as well as assault troops on crutches and in wheelchairs. We will discuss such phenomena in the aggressor's army, further in the arsenal. Tens of thousands of various pieces of equipment, to be precise, as of the year 2021. According to OSINT analysts, there were 22,173 units of various armored vehicles on the open grounds of Russian equipment storage bases. These are different generations of tanks from T-55 to T-90, BMPs, and armored personnel carriers. The Russian army compensates for the equipment lost at the front precisely by using such Soviet-era graveyards. But it's important to understand that not all of the Russian haphazardly preserved junk is ready to be sent to the front. Analysis of satellite images of the metal graveyards in Russia leads to the conclusion that less than half of the Russian equipment is properly preserved. And while one part is only good for scrap metal, another is used for parts.
It was calculated that to assemble one tank that can well drive and shoot, you need 5 to 6, up to 10 units. You need to, well, take some spare parts from one tank. So from, let's say, 5 tanks of that age, you can assemble one that will start, drive, and be able to shoot.
The level of losses of the occupying army in tanks in the year 2022 was simply astonishing. In the first year of the full-scale war, Russia lost almost all of its tank armies and its status as the largest tank force. In 2022, out of the 3,330 tanks that were in service with the Russian Federation as of February 24, 2022, according to official data from the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the Russians lost 3,031 tanks.
Currently, Russian industry can produce no more than 20 tanks per month. Well, these are more or less modern tanks. Therefore, they have long since started decommissioning what they had. There was maybe the T-62, or, well, old tanks that were 30 to 40 years old. Now it's the turn of tanks that are over 60 years old.
From time to time, the result of such activities by Russian Frankensteins is completely new, previously unseen weapon models, such as the symbiosis of a cannon with the BMP-1, or the automatic mortar Vasilek reinstalled on a wheeled base. The operating principle of this weapon is push and shoot.
Fire!
There are also reverse examples in the Russian army. For instance, armored personnel carriers that are still operational are equipped with naval anti-aircraft guns. Meanwhile, the owners of these unparalleled developments are puzzled by the English language in Ukrainian Bradley armored personnel carriers.
Here.
This is indeed what a NATO hat looks like.
Bradley. Hey, dude.
I'm curious how to drive them if everything is in English here.
Following the turtle tanks, or sheds as they are also called, so-called Russian cabbages have started to appear on the front. This is equipment covered in several layers of netting, metal plating, and dynamic protection. And yet, while the quality of heavy armored vehicles in the Russian Federation is declining, amusing symbionts appear, but tanks, armored fighting vehicles, and infantry fighting vehicles are still being massively decommissioned, supplied to the front. Problems have begun for the Russian Federation with another component, namely support and logistics equipment.
Recorded.
It was never.
The Russians are facing operational problems as they cannot deliver personnel, ammunition, and food to the front using trucks. And now they have to rely on unfortunate donkeys. Well, this suggests that rather, let's say, the precondition for this slowdown of the Russians has been the comprehensive impact of the Ukrainian defense forces on all components of the Russian military machine.
According to specialized media and experts, donkeys, horses, and other such animals, which have recently been actively used by the occupiers at the front, are a kind of adaptation to the dominant role of drones on the front line. On one hand, the Russians are working on advanced equipment such as lasers, electronic jamming, electronic warfare means, and fiber optics, while on the other hand, they are conserving military equipment by keeping it out of the range of drones.
The very fact that they are using such cargo transport as donkeys, camels, horses, and other similar animals in their units clearly indicates a certain crisis, a significant shortage at the very least, of logistical transport and resources to deliver ammunition and other necessary supplies. Well, obviously you can't go on an assault riding a donkey. No matter how wild the Russians' imagination might be, it would be quite difficult to do that.
The Russians also have so-called camels at the front. However, according to Wall Street Journal journalists, this does not refer to the humped animals.
The publication noted that in the destroyed cities, soldiers mostly move on foot or use more compact and maneuverable transport, including motorcycles and ATVs. The Russians also use individual soldiers, whom the Ukrainians call pats, camels to transport ammunition and other supplies.
And while the shells are being delivered by combat donkeys along with soldier camels to combat Russian drones, I have introduced a new wonder weapon, a buggy based on the Neva, armed with 6 Kalashnikov rifles strapped together. The experiments of the occupiers in assault operations deserve special attention. The use of mobile motorcycles and ATVs is no longer news to anyone. In mid-March, for example, Ukrainian defenders destroyed 16 ATVs and nearly 50 occupiers during an attempt by Russians to storm the Sumy region by Ukrainians. In the Pokrovsky direction, Ukrainian drone operators captured Russian assault troops on electric scooters. It seems the occupiers were not given instructions on how to use the equipment. And interestingly enough, the occupiers on scooters were actually lucky. Nowadays, it has become the norm in the Russian army to send wounded soldiers into meat grinder assaults, literally on crutches.
They were taken to the front line to repel enemy attacks. We have people here with hepatitis C on crutches, with injured arms. We have already appealed to all the authorities we can. No one is paying attention to us. We don't know what to do about it anymore.
Besides numerous videos showing Russian soldiers going into battle literally on crutches, in various online platforms and other media outlets, the Kremlin is also sending disabled people in wheelchairs into meat grinder assaults. That's all for now. Don't forget to write in the comments about which types of weapons you would like to learn more about. Like this video, and of course subscribe to our new Arsenal channel. The link is in the description below the video.